It's not exempt, non-exempt.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Is that what mixed use means
Yeah.
in this case?
Let
It
me
doesn't
show
mean-
you right here. So this
It
is the
doesn't
card
mean-
for One Arch Place.
Yeah,
And up here is the kind of summary. See,
Oh,
there's a
the
land
use
use code. And see, there's two of them.
yeah.
So the 9-1, that's exempt, but the 3-1, that's commercial. So the 3-1 is paying taxes.
Okay. Yes,
See, there's
It's
a
counted
building
on that.
value. Yeah, see 325.
yeah,
So there's a building value and yeah, that amount is taxable.
and it is being taxed. This is the question.
Well,
Yes.
the system says it's taxable.
That's
So
what I'm
I assume
It is
that it
getting
goes to
collected.
Kelly automatically and
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, with our export of information, a bill is created.
Okay. Are we all set now, Steph?
Thank
Stephanie?
you so much. Yes.
Okay, all right, that's great.
And so I actually, we have Kelly here.
Yes.
As we address.
Yeah.
Get on address for Kelly. Such a speech,
Yeah,
but you know, we appreciate you coming and being here. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Answer some questions and work with us.
sure.
I think the issue is how can we work together with the collector's office so that, before people hit the screen, they're aware of exemptions. They get counseling if they need it, things like that.
Mhm.
Is there some way of doing that?
Well, I think you and I had a conversation a while ago.
Yeah.
I suggested if any of you can make up some sort of flyer or
Mhm.
some sort of
Yeah.
documentation as to what exemptions exist, maybe like kind of
Right.
bullet point qualifications for
Mhm.
them. Something that I can send around when I start to send out letters to people, but before we start the whole tax taking process, just saying that, we know you owe these taxes. Here are some options for you that could possibly help.
Right.
Certainly, if you guys know of any other state programs that are available, we often refer people to RAFT, or the Housing Authority sometimes has programs. If they happen to call me, I will, refer them to that.
Right.
But I'm certainly willing to put a stuffer in with any of the mailings that I send out to these people who are behind on their taxes that kind of advertises exemptions or abatements that they may not be
Mm.
aware of,
And, I'm sorry.
Well, I read the article.
which I don't even know who this person is.
Yeah.
He's never
okay.
spoke to me.
And, you know, a lot of what they don't say is there's no timelines for how long it took for that to happen.
Right.
And it's many years. It's,
Yeah, it's 2 years before you even.
Before we even-
So,
file a petition, and then it's 3 years probably or more before the foreclosure ever happened. And even now, it's gotten even slower. So, we're looking at, I have stuff from still 2012 that I've gotten in
Yeah.
court. So, it's not like it happens overnight. People
Yes.
have plenty of time to contact me,
Sure.
or to try and sell the property to,
Mhm.
get out of whatever situation they may be in, and I, not to sound rude, but, as a homeowner, it is your responsibility to pay taxes, and it's your responsibility to, to take care of these things. We're here to offer as much help as we possibly can and to
Yeah.
try and put you on payment plans if that's what, works for you.
Mhm.
But like in this case, this article, I didn't see this article until you just gave it to me.
$27,000, that's.
That doesn't happen overnight.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
Taxes or 5 years of taxes.
yeah.
Um,
And this person never contacted me, even though he says he contacted us. I don't know who he is. So.
I just make a comment.
Sure.
And this is, I have some experience working with people with special needs and disabilities
Mhm.
from my corporate time. And these people a lot of people, almost all of us, face challenges when it comes to administrative aspects of many of the interactions in our lives. This thing, postal mail
Mhm.
is a constant problem for people. It's always getting lost and stepped in their mailboxes, and especially for the elderly, they're often postal mail. It's very challenging and risky to have postal mail be the only or primary method. And like
The
you
law-
said,
the
they
law
can
says
call.
we have to send it that way. We
Well,
can't.
of course you can
yeah.
say, I'm not saying we don't do it, but
Yeah.
I'm saying in addition, like our office, like Randy, when we first started here, it was really impressive the way, the first thing you had us do is you had this list of people we're supposed to call every year and make sure they get their exemption in.
well, we're not even supposed to do that, but that's what.
Yeah.
But you say we're supposed to
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's a cultural thing in our
It's our
department.
policy, yeah, I just,
Hmm.
I don't want someone to end up losing their house because I didn't, when does my responsibility start? And I don't even have to send out the application to them, but I'll do that. And then I've had.
But how do you get the phone numbers for, like, I don't have phone numbers for.
Yeah, and
people.
they have applications from the previous year.
Yeah,
So
so he's got more information than I would have.
I'm not like suggesting anything specifically.
Yeah.
I'm just saying culturally and as a general thing, many of our residents face challenges, and it's not surprising that these kinds of things happen. And that's all I'm trying to say is that we should all be sensitive. It's not that this person is irresponsible or actively doesn't
No.
want to pay.
And
It's
like,
just personal circumstances come in the way.
in cases like this, like, I would point them to LifePath to have somebody
And.
possibly help them. Are you working with LifePath?
I'm the treasurer.
Oh, good for you.
That's what I was gonna say, as the only thing I could see as a solution, it's really like they need a caseworker assigned to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if,
Like Ed Giard, the same thing could happen to him if
Yeah.
he went about the same route that this person did of just ignoring and, you know, concentrating on day to day.
The guy you went to, remember we called and you went to the guy's house and filled out his stuff for him?
Yeah.
Yeah, the night.
but the thing is, somebody has to contact me to know that you need
Yeah,
help.
and that person.
You know.
And so then where is it our responsibility to assign it to a caseworker? Or, I don't know what the answer is, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I am sensitive to, this person's circumstances, and I have other examples of things that I can see going the same way. But I don't know what the answer is, and I don't see how, we can take the full responsibility for it as the town. I don't know what the answer is.
Well, I agree with you. Town can't take responsibility for responsibilities that fall on homeowners' shoulders. However, because we're in contact with these people one way or another, and certainly over a long period of time, you can tell when somebody's getting deeper and deeper and deeper into it. That can trigger somebody contacting and saying, hey, what's going on?
And so could we have like a partnership with LifePath for this type of situation?
Sure. I mean, you don't need a partnership. You need, actually, I mean, you can put LifePath in touch with somebody. But many times if you want services delivered to them, LifePath has to hear directly from the
Yeah,
person.
okay, so there's even things in place that make it difficult for us to.
You can't, as LifePath can't reach out to
Oh,
them.
I can do whatever the hell I want.
Okay, well, I don't know how they,
No,
typically I'm referring people to
Yeah,
LifePath
and
to
that-
have them
and that's-
contact.
And that's
you know.
why I
That's
refer to it as like a partnership. Because, there's no one else to advocate for this person, just like Ed Giard. Had no one else to kind of advocate for him, and that's why we, took extra steps to make sure that he got hooked up with someone that was helping him.
All right, well, I'll talk to the folks at LifePath to see what we can do to,
I mean, I certainly, like the people I send letters to, I can give you a list if you as
Yeah.
LifePath want to try and reach some of these people.
Yeah.
They're not all going to be necessarily people who
Sure.
are disabled or in,
No,
you
no,
know,
no,
in
no, I
some sort of
understand.
situation like that,
So
so.
how do we qualify this situation to be something where, okay, this is happening, well, now it's okay for us to step in? Instead of having to have someone report it a certain way or what you're alluding to there.
well, I think,
It's
we
sort of like the
can,
person has to ask for help, is that sort of what you're saying?
well, I can't ask for help on behalf of somebody else, but I can have LifePath contact them and have a direct discussion.
Yeah.
That I believe is fair, but to say, hey, so-and-so's in trouble, will you take care of them? They're gonna have to reach out to that person and talk to them and make sure. But I think the thing is, you can treat the residents as customers. And if they're our customers, then we're in effect salespeople and representing the company. And it behooves us to do everything we can to satisfy those customers and to, keep them out of trouble that they may have caused for themselves.
Mhm. But
Or
my
at least
customers are
mitigate
also the other taxpayers who are paying their taxes.
Absolutely.
So I have to.
We feel you on that.
Yeah, so as.
They talk to
as
us
the
every
tax
day.
collector, I do have to,
No,
it
no,
is my
no.
duty to collect the money from these people.
Of course,
So.
of course, but what I'm saying is that before you go through a process that will be onerous and perhaps destructive
Mhm.
to the taxpayer, there ought to be all sorts of opportunities for intervention. That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
There is,
Yeah.
but yeah, but we can, so let's try this. So I'll send out letters probably in September.
Yeah.
If you can put together something with all the exemption abatement
Yeah.
information, and I will give you a list at that point, if you
Yeah.
want to try and contact people
That'd be great.
as another added, step that, we don't have to even do any of these
Yeah.
things by law, but we do it to try and get people to, wake up and recognize the issue before it becomes a bigger problem.
I think what is, when you keep, I'm hearing you all say, we're not required by law, but we
No.
do this anyway.
We
It's
do.
part of our culture. It's part of our practice of the
Yes.
city. And that's what always upsets me is because I read things like this, it feels like the city's put back on its heels and reacting to this when there's so many good things the city does.
Yeah.
It's just you're not tooting your horn and saying, look how we work with this taxpayer and this taxpayer. Look how we have this life path resource. Look how we have a senior citizen. Look at how many people we've done to help people who need help. And look how many people so that people feel it's
But
fair.
it's always the people who didn't get help.
Yes.
Are the ones that are.
Are the loudest horn. So
Yeah.
I just feel I'd like to see, and I don't know what the plan is for this, but I hope there would be some balance reporting as to what you have done, not above and beyond the legal requirements. The other taxpayers who are also to try to make sure it's fair and to keep our tax levy up so that everybody else doesn't have to go up to subsidize some other
Yeah.
people. So I just feel don't like to feel like the city's put on its heels when it sounds like you go out of your way beyond to help.
And even when it gets to the point of where it gets to our lawyer, she even really tries to help people. Like, she knows that this is not our end goal is to take your house. We just want you to pay taxes. That's all we want. And we want you to be in a situation where it's affordable for you. And sometimes people have to take that hard look that maybe it's not affordable, maybe,
Yes.
like we have one gentleman who, I mean, he scrapes his couch cushions up and he just went through a whole situation where they came in and they had to his house was condemned and, he has nothing now. And we've been bringing him things to, help him get reestablished because they've cleaned out his house and everything. But, he can't afford his taxes. We keep telling him maybe you should, he's also got COPD. He's got, other issues. Maybe you should think about selling it, keeping that money for yourself.
Yeah.
And getting into a housing place that would actually help you.
There's no housing.
I know, well, that's part of the problem too, is that, there is a
all of
housing
the problem.
crisis, but,
Well,
That's why that guy's staying in his house.
it is, well,
That's why this guy wanted to live in his trailer.
mhm.
There is no housing. There is a huge shortage and everyone in the whole town keeps operating as if there is. There isn't.
Well, I'm hoping that when they start putting all the apartments up above Wilson's that are supposed to be,
It's
rent, section 8 and it's just sort of
It's a drop in the bucket.
I know, I mean, there's only so much you can do. I mean, there's only so much land in Greenfield and so much, area you can put housing, but, unfortunately, that's just the realities we live in right now that I don't know what the answer to that problem
Yeah,
is.
developer.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's something, when I'm still unclear on the process and the timeline and the steps and, we talked about this.
Yeah.
And, to me, it would be helpful to see a graphic with these things and explanations about all the milestones along the way. But I don't think that document exists.
It exists in Mass General Law. You can read the chapter 60.
If I was an attorney, I would.
If you want to see in a flow chart though.
But that's right. What I'm thinking about is, ease of use. Now, I agree with you that, for example, if you're starting the proceedings, or they're getting to the point where you'll start proceedings, having that graphic that outlines step by step, this is what's going to happen, and these are the timeframes. And, so that people, they get that warning. And I know that the letters that go out give them a warning, but it doesn't give them any perspective.
It does. I mean, the first letter we send out, again, these are things that we don't have to do. They're, it's like, hey, did you just forget? Like, maybe you
Yeah.
forgot, like, because it happens, you put that extra bill away and you just forget about
Yeah,
it.
sure.
The second letter definitely details out more as to, if you do not pay this by a certain date, your name will go in the paper. We will start the tax taking proceedings, so many days afterwards,
Mhm.
and it lists the chapter and section of the law they can
Right.
refer back to. There's, just for your own information, what happens is at the end of a fiscal year, we send out that bill that's due on May 1st.
Mhm.
We send out a demand if you don't pay that bill.
Yeah.
After the demand, that's when we can start the process. I don't, I wait almost a year after that, giving people plenty of
Mhm.
time, because I send out those couple letters in between, trying to get people to pay before we ever start.
Yeah.
Because then it adds fees once I start the process, and I don't want to charge people all of that extra money if I can just get you to pay before I get to that point.
Yep.
But technically speaking, May 2nd, I can send out that demand, and then May 16th, I can start the tax taking proceedings. It only takes 14 days, and then I have to advertise it for 14 days. After that 14 days, I have 60 days to file the taking.
Mhm.
After that, I have 6 months. That's when I can file the foreclosure. So
Well,
again, we don't follow, I try and give people more time.
Sure.
So that even though the law prescribes that you can follow these dates, we give them more time. I don't have to,
No,
like I said.
but I think, I think what's required by law and what we actually do,
Yeah.
is different in a positive way.
Yeah,
And it would be good to let people know, you say, look, normally this is what, by law, this is what should be happening, but by practice, this is what is happening.
Mhm.
So that, people get a sense that,
Yes.
you're abiding by the law, but, there's a little bit of leeway so that, people can respond to this.
Yeah,
And I think that would go a long way to helping people understand what is going on. And the fact that we're doing everything we can
Mhm.
to help them stay in their house.
I mean, I can add something to the letter if that's, if you think that's gonna be helpful for people, but
It almost sounds like you're talking about a public relations thing.
Well, it
We need to
is.
Do our own article in the.
Yes.
paper
Yeah.
to abut.
Yes.
Abut these different things.
which I think we
rebut
have
it.
in the past, but.
Not to rebut,
To educate.
Yeah.
share.
Share.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, this is how it works,
Yeah.
just, because we just keep coming off as the villains and all of these different things.
Agreed.
And
Well, but your other idea, I think all of you were having an idea about maybe working together to do more of the kind of stuff that we do in our office of calling people early on. Because I am really concerned about the description, in these paragraphs in this guy's letter. It's not really about things the city is doing wrong.
Mm.
It's more about this, right? This person doesn't have, they're not able to do their mail.
Mm.
And
mental capacity to maintain.
might not even be mental, might be physical.
They need to
It could be,
I don't
there's,
know.
there's all
Yeah,
kinds of
it's
things.
not, really not mental capacity, because there's all different factors.
So that's why, and again, it was definitely the nicest thing I had heard coming into any of this is of course, we call people. If we don't have their exemption form, we are right on this list
Yeah.
calling them,
And,
and
we have the opportunity where Kelly doesn't have every taxpayer's number,
Yeah.
but, this is great.
And a lot of
What
times
could we
these people
put in?
don't want to talk to me either. Unfortunately, they think I'm the bad guy and they don't, even though I'm trying to help them, they just
Yeah.
don't want to talk to me.
Kelly, first I would say I agree that we need to have clarity, even among ourselves, in the form of an accessible flow chart or outline. What is the law? Now, I'll run back and actually read the law.
Mhm.
And then the next one is, what is the Greenfield tax collector's typical or standard procedure that will appear that it seems like we've opened it beyond. But then there's the actual situation with the actual current tax bills. And from a finance perspective, I hear that you use judgment usually to try and help as much as possible, but I also hear a fiscal implication for stretching out that collection effort.
Yeah.
I also hear that when we try to be compassionate, we're tapping our staff resources, that we don't have unlimited staff resources.
Yeah.
So-
Did you bring that up yet?
That's really important because it takes a lot
Sure.
to have her. And then I also want to know is if we sit down and say, okay, we know the law, we know what Kelly's department standard practices in general. And now we want to hear what's going on now with the current collection. And then we find, and I would ask also too, is that do you keep documentation like of when you placed calls and what was the result, or you placed a call, no answer? If you keep for every tax person, I know it sounds tedious, but just notes. And then we can
Yeah.
review it, but then we can also see when your judgment is overly compassionate, that we have a fiscal implication, because now we,
I don't think I've ever overlooked it. Listen, I'm like you. I'm nice, but I come from a corporate background. I know it's about the taxpayers and doing what's best for the greater.
Yes,
good.
and for the, for our cash, we don't want to, we have to watch that we get what we have going out there. I don't know what our receivables for election typically looks like, but I know we'd want to manage it. And I also want to manage your staff. I don't want to see, having your staff do all these constant
Yeah,
outreach.
Kelly
But
doesn't
it's
have a
really-
board to make those calls.
I know.
No, and it's usually me. So it's actually, once it goes into tax title, it's the treasurer. So me, I don't have, my staff is collector people. They're not treasurers at all. So it's
There we go.
me. And that's it. So I don't have any person to help me with
Right.
any of those things.
So we have to.
Other than the attorney that we use, who, she has access to a lot of like other records that I can't access. So sometimes she can find other heirs and like family members that she can reach out to.
Do you think that's who showed up at this guy's door?
No, she would never go door to door.
Who went door to door?
I have
He
no
said legal
idea.
assistance. He just said he sought legal assistance.
No, at the very beginning, this was fascinating to me and actually triggered this whole thing.
One of his neighbors came, probably saw it and.
You could have seen the ad in the paper or something perhaps.
Somebody came to my door and said I owed 27K in back
It could have
taxes.
been a sheriff. We do have to serve them by sheriff.
Yeah.
Once it goes to the court, they give them like a citation from the
See,
land.
when he said the tax collector rejected even considering that possibility, he wasn't talking about you. He
No.
was talking about whoever came to his door.
Yeah, I was like.
That person said he owed, so therefore that person is the
And the
tax
sheriff
collector.
doesn't know.
But that's the,
Yeah.
this is, I just gotta make a point about
Yeah.
this. Okay, in human factors engineering, the most important thing is to consider the perspective of the customer or the end user. And from that person's perspective, a person came to his door, said he owed money, then he asked the person about the money he owed, and the person told him some stuff.
Mhm,
Right, so from his perspective, that person was you,
mhm,
even if that person is not you.
mhm.
And so it's just showing an issue of the way that we're communicating, even though we may have no other options, or that's the way the state tells us, whatever, it's not working. It's not working for many people. And in our office, we went to levels to try and get that. You don't have that option maybe, but just understanding that the nature of the problem we have is it's not that, some of these other things, it's a total misunderstanding on who is doing what. And we have these in the assessing, right? We've come upon this multiple times about this same issue. People have no idea how we're different from you. They don't know what our process is, your process, and frankly, they don't want to know, and they shouldn't need to know.
Mhm.
We should be spoon feeding. We should be acting just like in the corporate world. In the corporate world, they don't spoon feed customers because they love them. They spoon feed them because that's the way to get the cash.
Mhm.
So we can take a lesson from what happened to Mr. Gordon, and we can take a lesson from these other experiences. I don't know any specifics, I'm not recommending anything, but it's just from a cultural standpoint, I think it's really instructive to think about his neighbor saw in the paper that he was getting, that the city was going to take his house, and his neighbor was like, I have an idea. Came over there and pretended or met with the sheriff or something. Someone else, it was the only way that he even found out.
Yeah, because they made up that own idea of 35,000. I don't know, that all seems a little fishy.
It's totally fishy.
He did, and there's a lot
Right.
of.
There could be some underlying animosity in that,
Yeah.
the neighbor, and it came out. That's why I think your first line of defense is what you brought up, which is we document our procedures, we document our communication,
Mhm.
and then we have something to fall back on if we choose to use that information. And I say also document your good stuff too, because we always have to balance all these really, really sorry, painful stories with very success stories.
Mhm.
I think we have one, especially if they're dealing directly with you. I can see you really working directly with people, and you and your lawyer can come up with cases where you were very successful and people are appreciative about how the city extended itself to really help them.
The people that like I get on payment plans and they see their payment plans to the end and they get caught up and then they just go move forward, like, and
Yes, thank you so much.
I was like, I always want to give them like a balloon and they're like, yay, you did it. Like, it's like, I told you, yeah, it works. Like, if you just
Consumer credit.
do it, like,
I mean, in advertising, you talk about testimonials.
Mhm.
Can we get a testimonial from some of these people?
I don't know if they want to talk about the fact that
Well,
they
no,
didn't pay their taxes,
No,
so.
no, no,
you
no. I
know.
mean, you can say, we had tax problems. You
Mhm,
don't have,
mhm.
and, we went through this process, we set up a payment plan, we finished the payment plan. The city sent us a key to the city, a new car, but someone who had a positive experience.
Mhm.
I mean, if anyone comes to mind, or if there are some
There's several
candidates.
people that have gone through the process and have, of course, a lot of them go back into tax.
Well-
But they're still, they get back on the plan and they do it again. But, it's just like a habit. Some of them have gotten themselves out of tax title and they stay out and they've done really well.
Yeah.
There's a woman that I know, I don't know if she would ever give a testimonial, but before, when I even started here 13 years ago, she was working with Lane Kelly when Lane was here to try and get her taxes caught up. And it took her until probably 2 years ago, working with me, like getting everything caught up. And, she fought me tooth and nail, like when I first started here, and didn't want to do the payment plans and didn't like what I was telling her. And she hated me. And I don't know why. All I was trying to do was help her. But now that she's gotten to the end and she's, got everything caught up, she's like, I'm her best friend now. Like, she's like, I really like, she's like, I can manage this now. And, I'm not paying all that interest. And, so I don't know if somebody like her would,
Well, I think positive case studies
yeah.
would, and they can be anonymous. We
Mhm.
talk about, one of our residents
Definitely
did
anonymous.
this, another resident did this, and these were the outcomes, and it would be great if
And
they.
The reason we would give those kind of testimonials is because it seems like there are two goals here, right? You were saying the city has a goal to make sure they collect all the taxes owed because that's the fairness for the other people who are paying their taxes. But the city also has a goal, which actually was one of Ginny's political platforms, of keeping seniors in their homes. And so knowing that there are these two goals, we have to try and balance them and do our best for both. And in fact, keeping seniors in their homes, I mean, from our perspective, arguably helps the city collect more money. Because when homes flip, oftentimes the asset value goes down. So it's just, again, I think it's a matter of culture, of all of us focusing together on not just what our individual, like for us in assessing, we would not only just focus on our individual department and what we're assessing,
Right.
but what Ginny was telling us is focus on the soup to nuts from the beginning to the end. And the goal of the city is to keep seniors in their homes. So what can each of us do to help that happen?
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I noticed in one of the ads, I can't remember when it was, but it was fairly recent, that there were maybe 35 notices
Mhm.
and 8 of them or 10 of them were under $1,000,
Mhm.
which is pretty, what?
But that's only for that year. So you gotta keep in mind, what we advertise in the paper is only for the taking year. They still owe taxes for the following fiscal year too. So everything that we just advertised was for 2023. Those
Right.
people still hadn't paid 2024 either.
Okay,
So,
well, and.
if it's $1, we have to advertise it. I mean,
Oh, no,
if it's below
I-
$5, I write it off. I don't do that,
Well,
but
that's,
yeah.
but the other thing is, we don't do hardships, do we?
I have done,
Yeah.
When
we
was,
haven't done hardship deferrals, but we had 3 last year, was it?
We had 5 last year.
5 last year.
You're saying we haven't seen any hardships go across our desk recently.
well, that certainly is true. I'm not sure that they would come across our desk, but you guys would know about them. And what I'm wondering about is, it seems to me that before you go into hardship, you try a hardship deferral. And if they don't qualify for that, or they can't deal with the deferral for whatever reason, then it goes into hardship. But I mean, the point
You're saying we can integrate with Kelly's office
Of course.
to preemptively try and do hardship deferrals before it gets to the point where they're in
Right.
a worse shape.
And well, that comes along with notifying them about the exemptions.
Yeah.
So a hardship is an exemption that people aren't aware of.
But you can do a tax, I think it's not a hardship deferral, it's tax deferral that they're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, which we've never done.
But we do that.
Yeah.
That's for us to do.
Yeah, I don't believe that it's ever been done, because it's, the way it's set up, we'd have to see how Munis sets it up too, because it's treated like a tax title account. It's just a different interest rate. And I'm not sure how that, like, how it affects the actual tax amounts.
Yeah, usually it's a deferral, you're using deferral, there's just knowing that they're gonna pay. And it's something that gets set up after that person passes away.
Yeah.
Well, but getting some money is better than taking a house, isn't it? I mean, some money in the future, and, you know, besides, the hardship cases are up to us.
And what you're talking about is, again, what we were just talking about of integrating our departments. So finding ways when you know something we don't know and you can tell us, we can do something you can't do and we can do it. Where we know something you don't know, we can tell you. Just these connections. And I think in this case about is maybe there's some way you can tell us ahead of time so we can recommend to people that they apply for tax deferrals from us.
Yeah, well, that's what I was talking about when I send that first letter.
Right.
Which is oopsies, did you forget? Like, you know, that's when I can give the list to you guys
Yeah,
and you
that'd be
can like reach out to people and say, did you just forget or do you need help? Like, you know, at that point.
See, that would be
Yeah.
that would be a great way.
So then are we gonna have something that you include in your mailing or?
Yeah, if you guys want to put something together for me that I can just stick in with the letter that will, and I can also, you know, put together a timeline too of how things happen versus
Yeah.
what the law prescribes. I can put that all in the letters so that, and then give you a list of who the letters went to
Okay.
so that you can talk to people if need be
Yeah.
and see if
Love
there's anything
to
you can
see
do.
that letter.
Yeah,
Yeah, and as far as the list of exemptions, I think we've taken a cut at it and we just haven't finalized it.
yeah. Like I said, it'll be a few months before I send anything out anyway,
All
so,
right,
if you have it by fall, that would be, next couple months, that would be,
we'll have it
Yeah.
before then.
yeah.
Because I think, you know, in addition to a stuffer, it ought to be on our website.
Yeah, and we can well, I think you do have a list of exemptions
We-
and stuff on your website.
Yeah,
We do.
we
Yeah.
have some, yeah.
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 I was like, I don't know if there's anything about hardship deferrals or anything like
I
that.
don't-
We're in a process of continuous improvement.
Yeah.
But, okay, great.
Okay.
Hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
I'm freezing, so. I We don't use air conditioning downstairs. We save the taxpayer money.
It's really neat how you came up with some ideas on how to actually
Yeah.
make a difference now. That's
Well, I know,
really
like I
wonderful.
said, I wish, I hate it when these people don't call and then stuff like this happens. Like, if you just call, like, I give you my phone number, my email, like, you can stop in and see me, you know, if you're not somebody who does, just talk to me, like.
All those efforts.
Not a feeling.
No, I'm not. I said, I'm actually very nice, even though I'm the tax collector. I said, but you know, it just not doing anything, and I know there's people who have issues and that's why they don't do anything, but you know, most times, like, you could have just called me and I could have helped you out and we could have figured something out before it went into the paper or went to the lawyer, you know, did all that
Mhm.
stuff. It's, you know, I know it's like a sucky thing that people they probably don't want to talk about it and they don't want to admit that, you know, they need help,
Yeah.
but you know, it's just me and you talking. It's not like everybody needs to know about
Yeah.
it, you know, and you know, that's what we're here for, to help and, you know, I think a lot of people don't know that there's abatements and exemptions that they might qualify for.
Yeah.
Like, I talk to people all the time, like, I can do what? I said, yeah. I said, why don't you try, you know, and see if,
Yeah,
you know.
we're definitely having that experience and we're just trying all kinds of things. You saw our exemption list was in the newspaper today.
Yeah.
It's a letter to the editor.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
even the work off program, most people didn't know existed.
yeah.
You know, like,
Expanding that too.
if you have some skills we can use, come in, get some money off your taxes.
Yeah, you
help us
probably
out.
appreciate someone helping you in collections. right?
We were talking about it earlier.
Yes, I know. So, yeah, so we'll try those couple things and we'll see if that
Okay,
has any positive effect in getting people to just
great.
pay or set up payment arrangements or do, you know, whatever, or get some assistance that might, you know, ultimately help them. So, okay,
Great.
all right,
Okay,
all
thanks.
right, you're welcome.
Okay,
I'm
great.
gonna go back downstairs where it's warm.
You mean in the hot seat?
Yeah. We thought you'd be sweating there. You know, I just want to throw something out when you said like keep seniors in their homes. Do you know credit unions, banks, do they do much advertising here on reverse mortgages? Anybody do it or?
I don't know.
No.
No,
I don't-
No one does
area
that.
That's qualified to do reverse mortgages, no institution that's doing it, because we did look into that with this
Oh.
other person that I mentioned, and I used to be. I worked at Cambridge Credit Counseling and headed up the housing counseling division,
Mhm.
and so I was that close to being a HECM counselor myself.
Okay.
Home equity conversion.
Yeah.
And,
We didn't find any.
yeah, so I contacted them and they hooked me up with the information I needed to know. And from the federal website where you look up the participating lenders, there wasn't one in this area. So it didn't get to the point where he had to use that, but, you know, I was a little disappointed that we didn't have anything local that, you know, any local participants. Although I'm sure that they, you know, you could find one if, you know, it came down to you needed it and someone, not necessarily local, but someone that, you know, was interested in, you know, help out.
I read about something called a home equity convert to mortgage arrangement. Have you heard of it?
That's what I just said, HECM.
Oh, Heckham. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the type of counselor that I, you know, was very close to.
That background of yours is super useful in what we're going through right now.
Yeah, it's, I really thought, you know, different things are gonna happen. As far as some of the different things like, really sincerely thought that there was gonna be a first time homeowner mandatory like classes that you had to take if you're a first time home. So that you understood everything that, you know, you needed to know before you got into that. And
Mhm.
it never came to be, but I really thought at the time that that was gonna be a shift in the industry and it was gonna go that way, that, okay, no, you're a first time home buyer, okay, you want to take this class as part of the qualifying process.
But, you know, going back to something you said, Stella, and that is, this is basically publicity. And we don't have a good PR plan. I mean,
Yeah, because we're not defending ourselves at all, and so we're not
Well,
necessarily should have to defend ourselves, but it's more informing or giving
I think
information of how it works.
I think that's really the point. And
Outreach.
well, it's a combination of outreach and it's preparing educational materials that you shove through different communication channels. And I think we need to put that together. I mean, you know, we've been talking about how we describe what we do, and then maybe we can integrate that with what Kelly does. And, you know, when it's our turn to you know, go public with these things, you know, we can allude to what Kelly does, and then maybe Kelly has something that's complementary to it that she can present,
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
I mean, I wouldn't say that there's nobody who wouldn't want to give a testimonial about how they were so grateful for working with the city and with Kelly. I mean, all it takes is two letters that respond, God, that wasn't my experience. The city was so compassionate. The city really helped me do this. I went through a horrible time with this health emergency and I couldn't make my bills. They helped me stay in my home. I bet you could find one or two. Whether it ends up as a letter to the editor in response to this or something, tell me something like that.
The goal is to have people call Kelly and get on top of it.
Yeah.
Or call us and get a deferral. Or an exemption.
Hmm.
Okay. I guess that horse seems to be lying on the floor.
It was lovely that Kelly came here, that
Yeah.
you guys were able to get here to come here and do that.
So, you know, one thing that, we're very proactive what we're doing. And we're overreaching into other departments. And I just wanted to caution or say, I'm glad that it worked out this way, but I've been talking to Kelly. And, you know, I don't want to, I want to work with them, and it was great having her here and having the conversation, but other departments and even her to a certain extent aren't understanding what we're trying to do. And we're, you know, I don't want to be perceived as stepping on their toes. You know, so even with the building inspector, he came by and you had sent that thing, which was really, I think on your part, just innocent, but he was like, okay, well, you know, I want to know what you guys are doing with the inspections of these properties, and you know, and so he's getting a little defensive. And I think that's important for us to understand and try, and you know, it's great that we had Kelly here, and hopefully we can straighten that out with Mark when we have our next growth meeting. But just making an observation that, you know, we're treading into everyone else's department.
We're having our department head meeting, all department heads. And I think that'll be a good opportunity for us to internally, as an executive team or the department head, to kind of reset and say, we're all looking in this direction, right? If we're not, well, let's kind of get on the same page and how we're going to, like you said, make the connections and work for the benefit of all. Not to detract, not to tread, not to, you know, because we each have our areas of responsibility. But I think the department heads, when we get all together to kind of address things like that, you know, I didn't even know, I mean, in my role, you know, that she's doing all of this, that she, you know, so I hear like the treasurer collector is the one doing these one-on-one calls. Unless it gets really legal, then she's going off to the lawyer, ka-ching, ka-ching, for the lawyer, I'm
Well,
sure.
that's like Randy talks to like every individual.
So we don't have that level of personal service, you know, and then
Yeah.
when we start arguing about our staff, what are the staff doing? Or staff time, I need staff. Well, because we're taking our senior department heads and they're providing this hands-on
That's right.
to our customers, to the residents. And like, I hear like, because I'm from the for-profit world, I hear, are you kidding me? Then so then when they say, well, I didn't get this done, we have to understand the ramifications of
Well,
what we're doing.
That's why Jim and I stepped up, and Devin, I mean, when people come, I mean, if you're out, you know, investigating a property or working on a deed,
Yeah.
it's great that one of us can step up and handle
Exactly.
somebody who's got a question, especially Devin. I've heard a lot of people who you're always helping them.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so we
That's what I'm
do.
there Yes.
So and it turns out Kelly doesn't have the same benefit
Yeah,
of
she
a
could use a
volunteer
senior
leave.
tax workout
We could
person.
try to figure something out there. I'm
Yeah.
making a mental note. Because like then she wouldn't be, she could be working more with Randy on the vision, the goals
Yeah.
and these tactical strategic things.
Yes.
And not being, oh, I got to get back to Mr. So-and-so. He called me back finally.
Couldn't agree
I'm going
more.
Back to my.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things we have to recognize that, you know, the assessor, collector, building and, you know, inspections department, they're intimately related to each other.
Yes,
And sometimes
Mm.
one bleeds into the other.
yes,
And I think what we need to do is clearly define where the boundaries are and the boundaries of this is our turf versus this is our collective turf. And then work those things. And I think, you know, I think this is a step in the right direction for doing that.
Mhm. Well, you're mentioning the department head meeting, but neither of these gentlemen will be present.
no, this
Yeah,
is
we're not in
internal.
that.
No, that's separate. This is just for us. How do we work together as department heads first? Are we on the same page as the mayor? Maybe we think we are, but we didn't realize maybe we're slightly off. Maybe she doesn't see the interconnections the way we do. And maybe she would benefit from hearing the interconnections that really do exist between the different departments as we're starting to see it and chew through it. So you're right. I think it's an internal thing to make sure we're all moving.
Yeah.
And we're all working together when appropriate.
So, all right, new business excise weeks,
Okay. Yep,
moving right along.
yes.
Yes, sir.
These look a little different, this week because we had an error with posting some too early. So this is the sign page, but the total is there and you can see the other ones are here. So you just need to sign this one. The wrong total.
Okay. And on to old business. Assessor office operation.
We are plodding along. We got all of our exemption applications out. We got an RRG update from David.
The email. Yeah.
Email, so you guys kind of know what's going on with that. He's done with the inspections. I did get him yesterday, the rest of the permits from the months that didn't so from March on, or actually April until that comes. And so he'll have a few more inspections to do. Need to get that list together so that we can go out and be proactive and try and capture what growth we can from our best potential. So the perfect list. And something that I've wanted to do and I want to try and see if I can lean on you guys. If you could prepare that list for me, remove those exempt properties.
I
Maybe
did
put
that.
those on a separate list. Yeah, did you already?
Yeah, I said that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. And so I need to look at it again. And if you wouldn't mind resending it.
Yeah, sure. And it's in the new growth slide packet. I updated the slide in there that has that too.
Yeah, okay.
But I'll just resend it.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Should we initial these?
You can, like the individual pages.
Yeah.
Sign, yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to move the ball along with the staffing.
Okay.
And Stella, actually, we're waiting for a signature from you on that.
Stella.
And
I forgot all the-
I'm glad that you're here and
It was those two ones, one,
feeling better.
your situation and then the new position, right?
Right,
That was the,
yeah, just so that we.
I will double check.
Official posting. But I'm glad to see that you're feeling better.
okay.
Without a mask,
I'm really fun.
so.
I'm sorry, do you want me to put back?
No. I mean, so that to me means that you're feeling better.
I am feeling better. Can you see? I actually said something. I will tell the follow-up on this. EAS, is that what you call them?
Yes.
EAS for Randy. Look, I'll put it right here. I think it was sitting in Angelica's box waiting for me or something. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but anyway, that's what we want to do, is move that along so we can do the proper posting. We'll post for the assistant position just sort of internally, I guess, and also externally just for a couple of weeks. And we have our applicant, and then hopefully we can get that done. And as soon as so we have to sort of make that move before we can start advertising for the other position. So we're trying to get that done. And I think it's only like once we have everything in place, it'll be a 10-day thing. And we'll be able to move on. So we're looking forward to getting that. I'm trying to keep pushing to get that done as soon as possible.
Great. Michael Mastro Totaro.
Yes, we have a senior worker, Michael Master Totaro. He has started again. He was in on Friday.
Oh, good.
And he's doing our
And he's a precinct counselor.
our picture taking. So we're updating all of the pictures
Great.
because many of them are from 99 and 2000 that we have in our database. So he's out doing that and has, picked up the ball and started running with it again. So we're making progress, and it's great to have a repeat helper that already knows the project and can hit the ground running.
That's great.
He's the best.
So we have already assessed the pyramids. We're still working on something maybe 25 years old.
Yes.
Never mind. Okay, RRG report.
And the report was just that they're gonna have, they're still accumulating new growth, and with these inspections, we have up until June 30th to capture anything that happened up until June 30th. So I know that we have been doing everything we can to maximize that. They are only like a third through the cyclical review inspections, and so I was hoping that they'd be further along, and he's gonna give us an update on that, I think, for our next meeting. Because I feel that there should be some potential new growth in there. David and I just went out and inspected a property that started coming along, a storage property that they're building, and it's all new. And initially, we didn't think that we were gonna see any benefit for fiscal 25, but then they really got themselves moving and they're nearly complete. And so we went out and did, basically our last look at that to establish a percentage of completion. And that's gonna be, every little bit helps, and that'll be a little bit.
When you say we have to complete the inspections by June 30th, capture the activity up to June 30th, can that be retroactive? So in other words, in September, you say, this is where this project was on June 30th. We
Yes,
can do that?
yes, we can.
Okay.
And so that's, so we adopted chapter 653 of the acts of, whatever year, and that's where we can capture new growth up until the June 30th. So yeah, it doesn't have to be on June 30th. You don't have to have it done by June 30th. you can still continue on and then figure out, well, where were you on June 30th or July 1st? And then still add it and the growth will work itself out over the actual bills.
Okay,
So basically we have up until when we're ready to shut things down for classification.
Mhm.
So our goal is our September 15th to be ready to start getting the information. Crunching the numbers on the information so that 30 days from that 15th date will be
Yeah.
ready to submit to the
Okay.
Department of Revenue.
right,
Get our approvals prior to the classification hearing, which is historically in like the second week of November. This we would like to have.
right. And while we're talking about RRC, how are we doing with RRC?
I sent them over the letter that they sent to me. Because that's just not one that's going out to the public, but the one that is for the representative that's going out in the field to show to people. And so I updated it and have it on our letterhead and customized it for Greenfield and have that out. The project's going to start on the 23rd.
Right.
And we've been talking to Matt about doing a press release that will go out this Friday was our goal to have it out on Friday or before if we could.
To let people know.
To let people know. We're gonna advertise, I think, a number if they want to schedule an appointment
Mhm.
for the inspector to come by. It won't be our number, it will be our seats number. So they can contact them directly to coordinate that.
Great. And you know, when you know, the RRC thing that brings up in my mind, on the homepage of the city's website, should, you know, do we have sort of news squibs? I mean, breaking news.
Yeah, there is something like.
There is something
I
like
think
that?
That's what he's gonna, he'll
Good.
have something that'll be part of the process of notification of the.
Okay. All right, and budget allowance for additional staffing. I think the budget.
Yeah, that's kind of done and we're moving on with our staffing goals.
Board help with administration. We've done the personal property, real estate data manipulation, so.
Yeah.
well,
I was thinking of how else can I utilize you guys? And I had one of our abatement applicants from Solar Way was on the board and has a ton of information about the different units and
Oh, great.
it would be great for us to have that on hand. She sent me a spreadsheet
Uh-huh.
that I really kind of need to work it a little bit and maybe even work with her because she's got really great information on different improvements that have happened in the different units, and who has a mini split and who doesn't. And because of her position on the board. And so that was something that I thought I might try and get it when I get an opportunity, get a handle on it and then turn it over to you guys to work with her. So that we could have that information ultimately be a great thing to have be on top of that condominium complex, all of them really, but at least we could start with this one. Anyone that we have a contact that has information that can help us, if we could get it together, that would be great. And so it's just like a spreadsheet and then kind of once we have it lined up, then that would be great. And I can enter all the information into Patriot and get it.
Okay. And that.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, that goes back to, I did this analysis of property cards for Solar Way, so I don't know if that's useful or not.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'll have to look at that again. And so, yeah, maybe you're the one of the go-to guy. Since you've already done some.
Sure. Okay, calendar.
We're in July now, so
And actually, I'm gonna take this opportunity to take off. So I didn't tell you, but I had mentioned to Chuck that there's an FCAA meeting. And I responded to kind of late when they were coordinating the meeting and I sort of got agreed for today. And I didn't want to be the one person that after everyone else said that they were okay to say, well, I couldn't make it because of that. So I'm glad that we got a lot accomplished prior to, and I'm hoping that my presence will not be too sore with us.
Randy, that thing that the mayor asked me about Stetson, we sort of informally chatted. Should I just confer with you when you get back? Or she just wanted to know about the Stetson opportunity with the improvement on the road.
With gaining gaining
Any-
asset value.
or new growth.
Because of the improvements.
That's right.
You know, that whole thing that, like Eric was.
Yeah,
for the
you were
new-
talking
like,
there about
if they
different
put a
zoning and that
road
type of
in.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
really, I'll have to look into that.
Well,
And
Okay.
get more feedback.
Well, and maybe Eric is a better or a
And-
good person to talk to about
Who's
that.
that?
Yeah.
Eric
is the
Suara.
planner.
Okay, Eric.
Actually, that would be one of the things.
He's
that
the guy-
Is asking him about the significance of it too, so.
He's the guy that suggested that when the city, for example, puts in new sidewalks,
Uh-huh.
in this case, it's a
Yes.
street, doesn't that increase the asset value?
And he's the best to really be more of a
Well, he can,
expert on it.
he can talk about like the difference between a gravel and a paved street. So he
Okay.
knows what the improvement is.
Okay,
But then
Yeah, and
Randy,
it's tough for me to react to that immediately, and that's something that would have to bear out to a certain
Okay.
extent with sales.
Yeah.
So, okay, the street is done over and there's a new sidewalk, and that's better, and it should increase the value, but I can't just do that arbitrarily. A lot of times I have to see it.
yeah.
With,
can
with the sale.
Harold help from a larger regional
Um,
perspective?
I can ask him about that.
Oh, I see.
So like I'm saying, usually it's a sales thing, but there might be something where, usually, that we're talking about a betterment,
Yes, yeah,
And so,
betterment.
That's the word.
That's a cool word.
betterment that they don't really, they're not having to invest in like on other roads where there's sewer improvement, but yeah, I can discuss that with them and see, if there's anything that we can do without it having to be, illustrated with sales.
Okay.
It'd be free money. There's nothing like free money.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Nothing's free.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay.
Thank, bye, Randy.
All right.
Calendar.
Okay, so we're in July, new fiscal year. We went over some of these things already, but I can just go through them again quick. We're inspect and process supplemental tax assessments on new construction completed January 1st through June 30th, which is what we know where is in process. Complete inspection of new construction, ROG. It's going through that. We'll talk about that a little bit.
Mhm.
We're inspecting what new growth we can find, calculate and report on updated new growth revenues. That's a little redundant, but yeah, once that's complete.
So-
Well, that's key though.
Yep,
There's a deadline in there somewhere
June 30th.
for the new growth.
Yeah.
So we're doing all this stuff, these meetings, and we talk about all those things, but if it doesn't get onto that report
Mhm.
by when?
I think it's June 30th.
So it already passed.
Yeah.
So
So,
all the stuff we're doing is for fiscal year 26 then, huh?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
What is it, 8 of 58?
What is that? That has no connection.
Yeah.
I don't know why you brought that up.
Um,
It does.
How's that? 8 of 58 is where you fix some assessment problem.
And if you didn't report some new growth that should have been reported,
Yeah.
that, I think that's.
Like 1 or 2, not the 5, the 100 we're gonna
Right.
find here.
Yeah,
You're not.
so we just
optimistic we're gonna
lose
find
the
100?
opportunity to, at the higher assessed values resulting from new growth, we lose the opportunity to get something from it in this fiscal year. It's
Oh,
next year's what
No,
you're saying.
that's not what it's about at all.
What is it about?
Oh, no.
8 of 58?
No, neither of these things. No.
Okay.
So new growth.
Mhm.
And this report that includes the new growth that Devin was talking about that
Mhm.
was due on June 30th to the state.
Yes,
So that's not just about us being able to collect a little bit more taxes and a little bit higher assets.
uh-huh.
The specific value of new
Oh.
growth increases the levy ceiling.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's what I.
That's what this is about.
It's about the levy ceiling.
It's about the levy.
But you
ceiling.
have to have them certify, the state certify that, yes, this is can be defined as new growth.
Yeah,
And then they will do their little thing
yeah,
and you'll come back and hopefully have a higher ceiling.
right. But 8 of 58 is not gonna help us with that.
Yeah. So we're all working on FY 26, so we're dealing with a higher ceiling. When we start doing our budget for
It
the,
would be nice if we get the ceiling higher for FY 35, wouldn't it?
no, wait, it's not, are we done for the ceiling?
I don't know.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
We did the CPA report.
that I don't know. I think Brandy has to do that. But that's something that is to be done in July. I haven't heard him talk about it, so I don't think that that's been submitted yet. But we are a community preservation next.
Yeah.
Begin periodic inspections for upcoming years, cyclical inspection program. RG, begin processing statutory exemption forms. We can start receiving them now. I have a couple going and I have a stack back that I have to go through at my desk still. So they've started rolling in. People are dropping them off. And we receive them until April 1st.
Yeah.
So we can start voting on these. I'm gonna probably bring a big pile.
Oh, good.
Next
That's a
meeting.
happy day.
Yeah. So that's part of like, it's time to start calling people to get the things
Yep.
that they haven't submitted and see if they have everything.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
At the end of this meeting, don't let me forget. Now, for both of us, we need stacks of exemption forms and
Okay.
flyers.
Okay,
We have those.
Yeah.
'Cause, the last person I talked to at the senior center wanted to apply for an exemption
Mhm.
and I had
Mhm.
nothing and they didn't, I had brought a few, remember?
yeah,
They're gone.
yeah, I'll print you a
Well, at least-
bunch. I have probably like, I'll print you a bunch. Like, how many do you want? Like 20, 30?
I don't know.
I'll make
I
you,
only-
I'll make you some.
Yeah, I mean, I
We've
only
got
see two people a
some-
month.
We have some available like
Yeah.
out by, like in the hallway downstairs.
Because Jim needs them too. We'll go down there.
Okay,
after the
great.
meeting. Jim,
Cool.
you're using for your new thing.
Nice.
But that won't start until August.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
but it's coming. It's already July 9th. It's only a few weeks.
Yes, it is. Indeed.
And also test camera system for errant accounts. Not quite sure how that works, but
Sounds.
yeah, I think it has to do, yeah, it is. A lot of these things are, but it's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's between our GIS and our Patriot, I assume. We've got August coming up. So that's for July currently.
Valuation capture and
So-
growth.
I just want to use this section to talk about what Randy brought up, even though he's not here, but I sent it out to you guys. I just, whenever I get an idea for some kind of way to analyze the data we have,
Mhm.
I often will send out a chart or some analysis, particularly for the new growth work group.
Mhm.
So in this case, we had talked often in the past and in the last new growth work group meeting about open permits.
Yes,
There was a big discussion about open
Mhm.
permits.
right.
And there's a lot of like the issue is that people, especially who are their own general contractor, they open permits, they do work and they never close them. And in that way, we never increase the assessed value.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reasons why from there. Really.
And do we check to see why it's still open after a certain period of
No
time?
one does that
Oh.
ever.
That's got to get on the task list.
But that's what this is about. So
Yes.
in order to encourage that sort of thing, which by the way, Mark
Mhm.
says that's not a job that the inspector is supposed to do. That it's, they're not supposed to tell people how to do it. They're just supposed to react to what they give. And there's no law that says you can't have a permit open forever.
Holy
Um,
moly.
There's no law. I
And
mean,
there's no law that says, check in after a year.
right, right. So all I did is I simply did an analysis. I have all the permits for the
Open
last
permits.
5 years.
Discuss-
And just to graph
Yeah,
which permits have been open for a year, 2 years.
Yeah,
3 years,
kinda
4
lay
years,
it out,
5
yeah.
years,
yeah.
and which have been closed. And there's a lot of open permits, like a lot.
Over 5 years.
Yeah, and each year. That's what I sent out. And I didn't
Uh-huh.
say like, this is anyone's fault or anyone needs to
No.
do anything. I just said, here's the numbers.
I think one of the questions that Mark has raised is the open permits, a lot of them may not be major renos.
Oh, no, all these are. I filtered out
You
all the
filtered out all the
electrical, plumbing,
electrical,
all that
plumbing,
shit.
okay.
These are the 1,500 I sent out is from a larger, about over 2,000.
Okay,
And I filtered out all those bad boys.
great. Okay.
And I used the fiscal year 24 parcels. So that's an update too. And yeah, there's still hundreds. So there's a total of 1,520 over the last 5 years of permits.
Mhm,
And some of them are closed.
mhm.
I'll just bring it up.
The permits don't have a sunset time, do they?
This is, again, we talk about this. Yeah, they don't. And again, it's the issue is what the building department sees as their job
Yes.
and how they're supposed to work there's no need for them to do things like that.
Right.
It's only us who cares about permits not being closed. So that's why they say, why would, that's your problem, not our problem.
Well, we have,
Right.
that seems terrible not to follow up on our own stuff.
Well, but that's the
I mean, we just
nature of
spent how much
this,
time talking to Kelly about following up on her stuff.
right? This is the nature. So 1,520 permits, right?
Uh-huh.
500 and some are closed.
Well, look at
It's over
time.
5 years, right? So 5 years old, these were all taken out in 2019, 247 still open. 2020, 181 still open. 141 3 years ago,
Yeah.
117. See, so the farthest one away are even the most.
The most.
And, you know, it
At
was,
some point, practice becomes, becomes practice. I mean, these things, people say, oh, look what you can do here.
well, that's what
You know, and
Randy.
we don't want that.
That's what
game. It's-
Randy said. Randy said, there was a guy of business selling their property. They had it for 20 years or whatever. And when they sold it or were trying to sell it, of course, it came out they had an open permit for work they'd done like 15 years ago. Sure enough, their asset valuation was way lower than it should have been for the last 15 years. And they just said, could you guys take care of this paperwork?
Yeah.
And it was discussed that this is actually a scheme that
That's
experienced
yeah.
business
How to do it.
people use.
They know how to get around it.
Is
Yeah.
if they do their own contracting, use their own internal resources, then they never close the
Right.
permit.
And then I worry about the lawyers involved in the transfer of property. Don't they usually say, we can't draft the closing documents until this is cleared up, this is cleared up. It's like, where is
That's
it?
their
People don't
problem.
care.
Our problem is missing out on 15 years of cash.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Right, but we just need some stopgap unless we make it a part of our procedures that we,
Well,
I'm.
One of the
Really
things,
happy with.
one of the things that, we've talked about, at least I believe we have, is people will close permits when they want to sell the property.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, but the problem is that the taxes that they pay are way below what
Yes.
the new owner is going to have to pay.
Yeah.
And those renovation,
Buy those
those
high.
things should be disclosed by the realtor,
Realtor, right,
but the realtors suck.
I agree. If they're not doing that and they're not.
They're not
fully
doing their
vetting-
job.
you
That's the
know,
problem.
And I don't know where the
Oh,
title thing
that's
comes
the
in.
problem.
We pay a lot of money as home buyers and sellers to title searches. I mean, I know it sounds a little different, but you would think that would reveal
Well,
something.
No.
But for our problem, for what's going
Yeah.
on now, I mean, the obvious thing to do is somebody, and maybe it ends up being us, if it's not going to be Mark's team, needs to just make a line in the sand 3 years or something.
Yeah,
And say, I'm going to look at every one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what we asked Mark last time, and he wasn't
men of,
copacetic about, is anytime anyone pulls a permit, they should put an estimate of when the work's going to be done. And when
How
that,
much it is.
and how much, well, they're already doing how much, but we don't trust
Not
anybody.
uniform.
put it in the data so we can track it.
We can do better than that. Why put it on us?
No, I don't mean me.
It's what it should, no, I mean, anyone in the city.
Yeah.
Someone files a permit, they say the work's supposed to get done on this date. When said date rolls around, we cancel the permit. If they haven't closed it, we cancel it. We go to their place. If it's done, we record it, all blah, blah, blah. If it's not done, we say you're in violation, you better get another permit. And by doing that kind of thing, it will change the culture of them
Yes,
to give realistic closing estimates. And if they don't meet them, to come in and tell us, and then to close the permits. So that's like
Right.
an idea of how we could change our process for $0 in our part and
That's right.
zero resources. And then it would fix itself.
well, what I
think,
was saying is, we can set, just like Kelly was talking about her procedures, we can set up a tickler thing where when it's set to expire, we
Yes.
send it on, we automate it,
Yes,
send a
yes,
tickler,
yes.
you're about to expire, like I
Yes,
just got with my auto
Right.
insurance day.
But
And it was like, and then they tickler, so it looks like we're proactively communicating,
Right.
so that when we step in,
right, but it would
Those
require a change to the process
Yes,
in the building
it does.
department.
and I'm not sure about the legality of canceling permits.
right, we'd have to,
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at that. But I think it's a great idea.
Just clear it through legal for sure, you know, because you don't want to,
But step one though is Mark. This is Mark's
Yes.
process. This is a thing that is for us, not for him. Why should he do something for us?
you're right. Somebody in the operations side of this, the city needs to own this. I mean, just like she's chasing people who owe taxes, we need to chase people who have open permits. And it just seems like a no-brainer. It's just trying to make sure we get ownership, you know, and it ggets done, and then it gets automated into a system.
So, but you can see why Mark was being defensive. And so
Yeah.
Mark's response to Randy was the classic like, okay, but, and then he pointed out what Randy just asked me for another copy of that I sent last month is the list of sorted by the amount of the permit divided by the value of the property. So if someone pulls a permit that's for 500,000 when their property is only worth 250, that's probably something that we should reassess. Right? They probably just added a new story onto their house or something. So I just created this list last 5 years. And that's what Randy was talking about. And that's what Mark asked. Mark was turning around and say, okay, Randy, that's fine about the open permits, but why don't you go and chase down all these people who have these, big permit values compared to
Yes.
construction value?
Yeah,
And it's a fair question, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't look at it as defensive as much
Right.
as he was asking, because we've talked about what we do here. And we go out and we call on the permit holder to see what has gone on. And I think, Mark was asking, well, how are you guys doing there?
Right, exactly. Why are you
As-
guys
as-
doing your part?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not doing your part, then the question looks defensive. If
That's
you are doing your part, it's we did 35.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of.
That's right.
So that's what Randy was talking about. Get on that.
Well, I think in the spirit of especially the mayor's vision of transparency and accountability, I think this is something that we should, as a department heads, we all need to be open to taking on ownership of tasks that have fallen through the cracks and have been vetted out in discussions and realize we need to reinstitute, maybe more systematic, but make it part of our responsibilities. And things fall through the cracks, and after a while, people feel like, oh, I've never done that. We don't do that. It's not our job. And then we need to rejigger that into transparency and accountability and new growth and raising our revenue,
Yeah. And so that meeting is a week from
When is it?
Thursday. I think it's on the 18th, Yeah.
When I'm
Oh, yeah, that's right.
which Devin very kindly sent out a really good news notice for.
July 18th. The company growth.
And so I sent you a request so I can share with you all the pre-information for that meeting. Did you get that?
No, but.
Stella.chan@greenfield-ma.gov.
Okay, now I've been having weird things where I don't know if people don't want to communicate with me, but I feel like I'm not getting all my units. When
Sounds
did
like
you
you're
send it,
not.
though? When did you send it? Was it
A
Friday?
few days ago.
Friday, because I went home sick. So I have to sit down. And then I was sick on Monday. I was sick on.
Just saying, I want to meet with you. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
I would like a meeting.
Absolutely, let's do
Can
it.
we do that?
You should get me now while I'm just putzing around. Sorry, no, I'm not.
I think I just did.
Don't put putts.
moving along. The anonymous tip line, anything happening there?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I still have it, but as far as I'm aware, nobody is working it. But that's okay. I will just keep collecting it.
Okay. And the council relations update on the meeting, June and July deadlines to present council for votes on expanding local exemption options. Where are we on that?
Well, I provided drafts for some slides, which nobody has provided any feedback on. Remember
Oh,
the slide
the
about
two
the,
exemption
yeah, the
slides?
residential? Remember I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
an
yeah.
analysis on the residential and we
Yeah.
worked through it and then I did a little slide on the affordable housing. and-
Right. Well,
Talk about the pros
those
and
two slides,
cons.
what can we do to move them forward then?
Well, you guys
It needs
could.
to happen.
You could look at them and say, yep, this looks good. And then somebody could try and get us on the agenda for the Ways and Means,
Okay,
so I could present it.
okay. So we just need a Ways and Means date.
Yeah, and then the other one, so that's the That's the, what do you call them? The big exemptions, the res and the
Yeah,
affordable housing. But then as far as the individual exemptions, again, I had put together some slides on where Greenfield is not as far as it could be. Remember, we looked at those. So like we have 41D, we don't have 41C.5.
oh,
I don't think we're gonna have 41C.5, but in fact, we don't. We could be lowering the senior exemption to 65 from 67. There's some other one we could be boosting by a few dollars, one of those 17 ones, but I have a list.
Mhm.
It's not a long list. I've sent it to you guys several times, especially after you sent that. Here's what 101 says.
oh, okay.
So
In terms of the exemptions.
the difference between what Greenfield has now and what Greenfield could have now.
Right.
So that's what this is all about, is about going to Ways and Means. And that's the other thing, is I wanted some sort of dollar impact of those changes. If we change the senior from 67 to 65, how many more seniors are going to be applying? How much is going to impact our overlay?
You need an actuary, because that's what they do, don't they?
Oh, we need someone from our department to be able to estimate that,
Okay,
so that we can go to council with the
Right.
fact.
Well,
right.
I'm not,
Cost.
okay, I'm not sure we can estimate it. I think what we can do is we can make assumptions and we can show the impact of the assumptions.
We can do that. Yes, but anyway, so that's what we have to talk to council about, Ways and Means in particular, is we need to start educating them on the impacts of the, what do you call them? Not statutory, the chapter exemptions.
Yeah.
The property exemptions. And then we need to talk to them about potential increases to individual exemptions. And for both those things, we need to give them the financial pros and cons and the political pros and cons.
Yeah.
And I think I've assembled that for all those things already. I
Is
just
that what
need,
you're saying in your slide here? Is that what you want? Is this the slide that didn't contain?
no,
is
this is
different?
my note to you asking for a meeting.
No, I meant that to talk about these slides.
Yes, yeah. So, because it's going to take a while to bring them up to speed and all that, and we need them to vote.
Okay. Educational outreach, the GCC community engagement, of course, I'm gonna get a hold of Judy Raper at GCC next month. And because they're trying to figure out what their community engagement schedule is gonna look like. And the assessors night thing.
That's where we have the big open bar party.
Yeah, well, yeah. The drinks are on us. Right?
Yeah.
The water fountain's over there.
Yeah, right.
You know, I don't think, we haven't scheduled an assessors night and we haven't put together what the content is gonna be. And I think we need to do that. Did I put together a list of topics?
You did.
I did. So we need to flesh them out, or we need to revisit it.
What is the overarching goal or purpose of reaching out to GCC?
Not to GCC.
I mean,
Through
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 GCC.
GC.
It's really their facility to reach to, when you use their facilities and whatever
Well,
to
we're,
reach the
the
public.
institution.
well,
institution.
yeah, we're using the facilities possibly, but mostly the communication.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah. That's great.
And,
Yeah, that
and
makes sense.
the community engagement is different than the senior symposium.
I agree. Yeah,
Well, no, I mean, in their eyes, they're
Yeah.
different.
we do both. So Randy has already done the
Mhm.
senior thing several times over at the senior center.
Mhm.
And so this is just another one, although this one through GCC is going to be more in depth than what
Yeah.
Randy does at the senior center.
More in depth than what he did,
What has done.
what he has done. But I think what we need to do is, we need to really clearly lay out what we do.
Yep.
And have and have a listening session. But we haven't put together the the list or fleshed it out to know what the presentation.
It's not like a city thing, it's mainly assessors driven or,
Oh, this is entirely,
It's-
all these outreach things are just because we want to.
no, but I mean, when you do accomplish or set up an outreach
Yeah.
and using the resources of the GC, I mean,
It's city,
do
It's just,
we-
it's just assessor.
just the
We
assessor.
haven't done an integrated thing, which might not be a horrible idea to have an integrated thing with us and Kelly. and-
I was thinking economic development.
Sure, and- yeah, Amy, sure. There is, as we'll talk when we do our slides, I proposed a workshop that the building inspector should put on. So just at the highest level, there are different city departments have outreach needs.
Mhm,
And right now they're not
Right.
being integrated.
that's right.
The only way they integrate
I
is
think-
on the website. What's his name? Matt, integrates them all on the website. But in terms of these
Never
outreach.
requires you to go. I like.
I'm
these
not sure
outreach.
who gives him guidance.
Who, Matt?
Yeah.
Or each individual department. I mean, he's the communications
No, no,
director,
no,
so for
I
overall, it's him.
Right, everything will go through him, but I'm not sure that we have, actively worked with him to get stuff done.
Oh, when I first started, right, he was coming in doing meetings with,
Yeah, I
All the
know,
time.
but, somehow that's fallen in the cracks.
okay.
But I hear what you're saying about integrating. There's times when we want to present a more holistic,
Maybe.
or we know, we get the community. How are you going to get, if we have them very siloed and individual, how many people would like it better if people come and you have, then you can give them all the things, as opposed to saying, okay, well, you, Amy, are on your own for your own outreach.
Something to talk to Matt about.
Will do. All right. And the mayor.
Well, I think we're, the more moving parts you put together, the more problematic the thing
There's
is.
that.
So
True.
I think, combining a session with Kelly would be,
More.
it would be too complicated. It would be too complicated, both in terms of
Oh, I see
integrating the
what you're saying.
materials. It would be too complicated in terms of the audience. The audience would be split.
I hear.
you know.
Yeah, and then.
So, but
No.
having said that, I don't think it's a bad idea to have an assessor thing and to talk about how we fit with the collector so that the collector can come in
And have
and
their own night.
have their own night.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe it's a sequence of nights in the month of September where each department has a night once a week.
Well,
Yes,
A lot of ideas.
great ideas. I'm writing it down. Oh, you're writing it down. Great. I'm writing it
We're all
down.
ready.
You know what this is? This is, I'm writing checks that your body is going to have to cash.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning stuff that somebody else is going to have to execute.
That's
You,
the
you
best.
want to, you want to have a collector's night? Well, guess who does it? You want to have a building inspector's night? Guess who does it? You want to have an assessor's night? We do.
Yeah,
And you see what I'm?
I totally get it, but I think it's also a place to talk it through and say, what do you
Oh,
think
yeah.
of this? And then,
No,
you
no,
say-
no,
and then you say, have you thought about that? And then we get it, and then we try to prioritize, saying, that's great, that's great, that's great,
Oh.
this is the best.
And remember, Stella is the broader we that includes not just us,
Yeah.
but also Kelly
Sure.
and even Mark.
Well,
too.
Well,
No, that's not-
procurement falls under me too.
Okay.
Screw this. We have a finance department head presentation about the whole finance
That's
department.
right.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, there you go.
No, we,
It's a ridiculous idea because nobody understands the finance department and they don't care about the finance department.
that
They
would-
care about their tax bill.
exactly. So we wouldn't never do, I'm not talking about, I wouldn't have procurement, I wouldn't have finance, I wouldn't have energy and utilities. I was thinking more the ones as a citizen, as a resident, as a homeowner. I thought, oh, it'd be cool if I could go somewhere and really hear from assessor, tax collector, and economic development. To me, those are the three things that affect me.
That are of interest to you.
Yeah.
And there are a whole bunch of people
It
who are
would-
interested in
Only one.
sidewalks are crooked and the
Yeah.
roads are torn up. I mean,
That's
DPW
true.
night.
Yeah, right.
So you're
Right.
right. No, I was just throwing that out, but it
No,
does
no,
sound
but-
like it could be a can of worms,
Well,
you know.
we don't want to open something to find snakes in it.
That's okay, canister.
All I can
Okay.
say is I'm very excited about your enthusiasm for working with the department heads.
You're doing real well.
I
Dan.
have.
You're doing real well.
Hanging in.
But I feel like we need to work together.
Yes.
Okay, moving along. Tax taking proactive outreach. We've
We've
talked
heard all
about
about
Oh, we
that.
heard
Yeah.
that, that's. check.
Pilot programs, I'm still gathering data for pilot programs so I can make a report to Jimmy about it. And I'll throw it around here, but basically what I'm finding is, if you're interested is, I mean, pilot programs, you know, a lot of cities have them. The real problem is figuring out what percentage of the assessed taxes an exempt organization ought to voluntarily pay. And in one of the things that I think is really useful is to have a chart of all the exempt organizations, what the valuations are, how much they're contributing, and what percent of the valuation they're contributing. And this is modeled after what Boston did. And, you know, it shows the good guys and the maybe less good guys, or women, as the case may be.
So it's a chart of our non-exempt, not exempt, our exempt, which mainly all the charitable or nonprofit.
Yeah.
Of who's paying. I would like to, like you, did you say, I'd like to know the population in here, and then of those who are volunteering. And first like that, and then how much they're paying relative to the valuation.
So when you say you'd like to know the population, this is, our CAMA system is exactly the kind of system,
CAMA,
the
yeah,
Patriot system or the
yeah.
computer aided
Yes.
math. With that system, Randy can produce reports of any kind. And what you were just mentioning is, so the exempts have a land use code.
Oh, that's right. You just said that. Yeah.
Right. So Randy can produce
Oh, yeah,
reports on all land use codes that are exempt.
right. 093, he said.
Right, so you can just simply produce them, and if he doesn't do it in the system, I can take an export of that and I can sort it by the largest, who has the largest asset values, who's been
Yeah.
there the longest, whatever. We can sort it and cut it and play with it.
Isn't that in the
data I already have, like they,
information that's already on the website about ownership? Wouldn't it list all owners of all property?
yeah, so I
And
think,
the assessed value?
I
Yeah,
have,
they're-
I have that database already, the
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
So I could do that analysis now.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do that for
Yeah,
you?
that'd be really cool.
Let me see if I can do that.
So it starts with our potential. Our potential is, what is the value, and isn't the value of what could we have if exempts didn't have, who are here in Greenfield, but what we could have. If,
Got it.
and then the next layer is of those who are contributing, and then you said, what are they contributing? And again, versus their value. Then we can kind of peel the onion and just say, and you'll end up with, of the potential of possibly, 10 million, we're getting 0.01% from the
Usually
contributors.
nothing.
Nothing. And I think we need to always look at that number.
We don't have any
Especially if it's
pilot
readily
agreements now,
available.
do we?
I don't think we have pilot agreements, and that is an issue too.
Yeah, we have 0 pilot agreements.
We have 0 right now?
Agreements, formal agreements. Okay,
Okay, pilot, but these are pilot,
That's what it,
right?
senior center meetings, you have anything to say about what's going on there?
I just ratified, so I went last week and I'm gonna go again. It's the fourth Tuesday of the
The
month.
fourth Tuesday?
Yeah, you said first. or
Oh, I'm
whatever.
sorry, yeah.
That's why I sent the little snippet back.
I'm the second
Um,
Tuesday.
Yeah, so but the important thing there is if I'm doing senior center, but you're gonna be doing library meeting.
Yes, that's
And we're gonna
exactly right.
coordinate, we both need stacks of exempt.
Okay, and we've done Kelly Varner
Yeah,
discussed her
lovely.
board
Okay.
payroll. Evan, you have some
I
exemptions for us?
do,
Okay.
can we,
Do we need to?
is there
go into
anything we
exec-
want to adjust on our agenda for our next meeting currently?
I mean, well, what do you think?
Treasure.
Does it seem like all the things that we've wanted to talk about have a home in the agenda?
I mean, does that seem, it's up to the board what the board feel like they want to
I
discuss.
was more trying to say, when, in your process of minute taking,
Yeah.
did you find any things that were said that you needed to write minutes about that you didn't have a good heading to write them under?
No. In good shape.
What do you think?
It's up to you guys.
That's because I followed the outline. And then we went off on
That's fine.
various excursions. No, I think,
I mean, I'm gonna strike,
you know, I think there's old business and sort of status reports.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the old business is talking in detail about something, and then the status reports are, yeah, we're doing this,
Hmm.
it's done, you know, that sort of.
No update on tip line today.
got it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a good example.
Mhm.
I'm gonna, like, I can strike, Kelly,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
The bottom. All righty.
I think let's spend some time.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's
You know,
anything
I'll
you
make
want
a
to add or
suggestion.
subtract, I'll be happy to make adjustments as you guys want.
Okay.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention before we go into executive session is next meeting is scheduled to be July 23rd. I think that's coming in 2 weeks.
Mhm.
We don't have anything on the calendar right now because there's a conflict with the retirement board, same as our last meeting. So we have to either hold it earlier in the day, later in the day, different day of the week, cancel it, whatever you guys want to do.
That earlier thing worked great last time,
Okay.
except of course couldn't get in. Didn't help with that.
We start at 8:30, right?
Tried to get you a key that said no, and then I said, should I take Jim's key? And they said, didn't say anything, so.
Yeah, what the hell, right? They don't know. In a
You're
couple of
not-
years,
you're
I'm gonna
not
be the chair and
taking
wait
my
till
key.
that happens.
You're not taking.
Yeah, their
mine.
heads will roll.
So do you guys want to schedule it for earlier, 8:30 to 10:30?
It was okay with Randy.
It'll have to be.
Oh.
Is that you?
Right.
It's gonna work. I'll check in with him to see, and then I'll let you guys know if it doesn't work. Okay,
This is.
but then after that, I don't think we've got any that's coming up. And yes, there are some exemptions, just two, but there's many more downstairs. So next meeting, they'll be heavier.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So we need to go.
I'm
into
going to
executive
move that we
session.
move into executive session.
Do I need, and it's just you two or you three?
Yes.
But I apologize for that.
For what?
For missing your thing.
Oh,
But I
yeah,
do want to connect with you
horrible.
because one, I was sick. Two, I'm still percolating or I'm not quite done baking in terms of what my role and my schedule and my priorities. So I apologize. I think I was still sick and baking at the same time.
it's too late. I've now formed an opinion.
Are you fully
It's
baked
all
or
over.
half baked?
I'm half baked.
Okay.
I'm getting better thanks to antibiotics.
Yeah.
But thank you for letting me attend your meeting.
Well,
Letting
thanks
you.
for coming.
It's a privilege whenever the higher ups come and
See, you keep saying that, but I'm like, I need to be clear as to where, what my most important role needs to be in this time, because I'm not, I'm an interim, so
Do you want invites for all?
I always do because I love this.
Okay.
I love this stuff.
she just likes us.
I guess that too, but this stuff interests me. I'm waiting until you put me on a committee where I don't like it. I
Okay,
can stay up with coffee. Okay, have a good meeting. All right.
okay,
So shall we vote to go into executive session
Yeah.
and, well, should we close public comment?
yes.
I move we close public comment.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Stephanie, Ryan, you have any parting comments?
No, I love some of the ideas that you guys are proposing. And I love
Ryan.
the cross reference because I know that there's certain entities that own quite a few buildings in our town that we might not be capturing the correct amount of tax on. So I'm really happy about your look into the pilot programs and such.
Yeah,
Thank
you really think people are cheating on taxes? Oh,
I know that
never-
we're probably not capturing and what we should be on certain entities,
Oh,
but
that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay, great. Well, thanks a
All right.
lot for attending.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.